Hello and welcome to the sewing studio. Today I'm going to be putting a zip in a little bag and I need help.
I'm here, Katrina, to save the day. We're going to get
really nervous.
Don't be. Zips can be a little bit scary, but actually
Right.
we're going to do a simpler zip insertion, which is a nice little flat one.
Okay,
All right.
I believe you.
So I've brought with me some little things for inspiration. Yeah, deep breath, remember to breathe. Look, I'm already covered in threads. So these are the little pouches I make with my little, and I'll put it under the little close-up there, and so you can have a look at it. And I do my little scraps from my sewing projects, and I turn them into little half-inch hexagons. So that little bag was all made from scraps. Even the fabric in the lining was
Love
just
it.
out of my scrap bin.
Love it.
And I know you've done yours using flip and stitch.
Yes, I
And
have.
that's what I do on the back.
Oh, and look at this detail. I really need to try harder. If you saw the back of mine, I do need
It's
to
fine.
try harder.
Well, look, this one I've just done just normal with no little
that's-
fancy
that's made me
bits. So,
feel
you know,
better.
it's whatever really. But that's another one I just did in pastels. But you can see
Beautiful.
from those, and the reason I bought two in is they're not exactly the same size.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. So you can do any size,
It's
really.
just, yes, it's just sort of the process of making them. And you
Okay.
can sort of adapt them to whatever scraps you've got, however you want to put them together.
Okay.
All right?
I like the fact this little cherry's right in the centre.
I did that on purpose.
Did you?
Yes.
I love it. Right, sorry.
But I feel it needed another one. But
I've
anyway,
become distracted, sorry.
that's absolutely fine. So let's start with the bits we need, shall we? So
Okay.
and I know you've prepared yours ahead of time. Now I've done something a bit different because I've been using my 2.5-inch squares out of my 2.5-inch squares scraps.
Okay.
So mine's slightly different size, but that's another, it doesn't really matter. Just
Right,
use what
okay.
you've got. So you've got
This is mine.
yours, yeah. And I think the measurements I told you, which I based on this one, was 8 inches wide by 7 inches tall for that bottom piece. And this is going to be this bit here.
Yeah.
That's going to be the bottom.
Yeah, I did as I was told.
Good
For a
girl,
change.
good student. The top bit should
Yeah.
be the same width and
Yeah.
2 inches tall.
Yep.
Now, you can actually see on mine's slightly bigger because my
Right.
strip was slightly bigger and I didn't bother trimming it.
Right, okay.
And this is actually a good tip that if you struggle to get your zip in exactly, just make your top section slightly oversized. It makes it a little bit, you've got a little bit of wiggle room.
Right.
But it's fine. It's all
tip.
good. It's all good.
Okay.
We then need our zip. And this is just a nylon dress zip. And I would say
Yeah.
a nylon zip because you can sew through these.
Okay.
If you have any which are metal or hard plastic, you'll break a needle if you try to sew through those. So certainly while you're learning, the nylon
Yeah.
zips go in much, much easier.
Okay.
And you want a zip that's longer.
So far, so good.
Longer. And just be careful, if it's only just a little bit longer, be careful at the end here, I'll just put it under close-up, of the plastic, the hard plastic tab
Right.
at the end, because if your needle hits that,
Yeah.
it will break
Okay.
the needle, not the zip. And then you need a back. And this one I've made the same width. So mine actually, because I've used 2.5-inch squares, is 8.5. Yours should be 8.
Yeah.
But actually for these, I tend to oversize them that way. Now this was a piece from a 10-inch square, so I've just left it at the 10 inches.
Right.
And the reason I don't cut this precisely to size is the exact measurement for the height will depend on how you fit your zip. You can either fit it so it's like really quite close, or you can
Yeah.
fit it where you can have more of the tape showing.
Yeah.
So that will determine, it won't be an exact size every time you
Right.
put a zip in, basically, is what
Okay.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So that's our outside pieces.
Yep.
Let me move those out the way for you. And then we have exactly the same in lining. So we want a 2-inch by, mine's 8.5, yours is 8-inch strip, a piece of lining to match our bottom, and then a piece of lining to match the back. Now you'll see, actually, that piece of lining I think is only 9 inches.
Right.
It was a
okay.
slightly smaller bit of fabric, but that should be plenty big enough.
But that isn't going to matter later on then,
No.
is it? Okay.
Quite often I do the front first and then I prepare the back because I will know what size that front has come out at.
So you can just cut it down.
You can cut it to size,
accordingly.
yeah.
Okay.
But like I
Yeah.
say, we need it to be. So we're going to set, and the linings need to be separate. So we can see on here, and I just need to mention that these have all been quilted.
Oh, this one. Yeah.
And
Quilted.
you flipped and stitched that, so
Yeah.
that's all secured down. And I use old bits of quilt wadding, and you can see there where I've joined pieces together.
See.
Well, that's all right, nobody's going to know.
Well, they are. They can all see on camera now.
Yeah, but
Look.
once it's made, nobody will know. If you don't tell
back
them.
over quick.
So you can join, and you can see I use the zigzag, but for the stretch.
Right.
And it tends to, if you just use a zigzag, the fleece will tend to sort of mount in a bit.
Right.
Whereas that will keep it flatter. When I do that, I call it my Igor piecing. You know, a lot of Frankenstein, they have an Igor with an arm that doesn't belong to them. It was somebody else's.
I saw that recently. I think after our wadding video, I saw people talk about Frankenstein.
Oh, I call it
pieces
Igor
of
piecing.
Wadding together, and I thought, what does that mean? Now I know.
Igor piecing, I call it.
Piecing,
Igor.
right, okay.
I've made an Igor out of my fleece. So we're going to set the back to one side, and we're just going to be focusing on this to make the front section, okay?
Yeah.
Now, the first decision you need to make is which way you want your zip to open. And it doesn't matter. I'm right-handed, so I tend to have a zip that opens that way. I know you're left-handed, so you might want your zip, but it might be more comfortable for your zip to open that way.
I think I'm going to go that way, actually.
But it doesn't. There's no right or wrong.
No.
You know, right-handed people can have it going that way.
Yeah.
And left-handed the other way.
But I think as you've given me the choice, I think I'm going to go with it that way.
Yeah, I think that's probably a more natural for you as a left-hander. So, we want these 3 bits. So we're going to put the top bit out of the way for the moment. We want these 3 bits. Okay.
Yeah.
So, outside fabric, right side up, bottom piece. Zip now. Let's take the little staple bits off the end. We could have done that before, couldn't we?
We could have done. Do you know, I feel really nervous, and now I know exactly how my students feel when they come on a workshop with me.
I'm just going to cut mine off. I'm going to cheat and cut mine off, because we're not going to need it. Yeah, well, learning something new, it can be scary, but it doesn't mean to say we shouldn't do it.
Well, no, I want to do it. I've been wanting to do this for such a long time. Right, okay,
all right,
we're there.
So now, zip, right side down, and I call right side where you can see the coil.
Yeah.
And put it sort of somewhere centrally. And the reason we're using a longer zip, it means that we don't have to be worrying about moving a zip head as we're sewing. So when we move that zip head, we can jiggle things about or you know, have a bit of a wonk in our seam when we do that. So by having the zip head completely out of the way, we've got rid of that. So we're going to do that. Now you might want to grab the pins and just put a pin. And this is just sort of a holding pin, just there at the beginning. And then I'm also going to use some of these fatter pins. And I'm also just going to put a pin at the end there just to hold it. But they're going to come out in a minute. They're literally just to hold these bits together.
Okay.
And then our lining fabric now goes right side down on top. So we're making a zip sandwich.
So which is the right side? Oh, right, okay.
And we just want to be making sure here that we line up our edges.
Yeah.
So this is, and then I'm just going to take that pin out and repin that one. And take that one out and repin that one.
Okay.
Now I don't tend to use a lot of pins in these because you'll find, particularly with the zip, well there's one other thing I need to mention, it'll pucker the zip. It'll create little mountains in the zip, so the fewer pins the better actually, because you want it to lie flat. And on that note, if you've got a zip, yours is looking nice and flat, if you've got a zip that's come off a zip on the roll, quite often they're a bit wonky, aren't they?
Oh, right, yes.
So hit it with the iron before you start, because a wonky zip will go in wonky, a flat zip will go in flat.
Okay.
So, and they will take the heat of an iron, even on the nylon teeth, unless you hold it there for a long time. But yeah, you can have it on the hottest setting.
Okay.
You're ready to sew. Are you ready for this?
No.
You're not doing anything. Pretend the zip isn't there.
Okay.
Pretend the zip isn't there. You're just sewing 3 bits of fabric together.
Take this out.
Take that pin out. Now we've got the zipper foot on, and we're going to use, I'm sorry, I'm just going to poke my finger in.
Go for it.
We're going to use the edge of the zipper up against the edge of the coil. And if you put your finger there, you can sort of feel the lump where that is. So I will quite often use my finger as the guide.
I think that's about in the right place.
Yeah, so lower your presser foot, that's it. And then...
Oh, I'm quite a long way from it, hang on.
That's
I need to come up a bit.
That's fine. You can just sew into it. You don't have to start right on it.
Oh, right, okay.
You can you know, sew up to it, as it were.
That's going to go along
and
that
I
edge.
keep a finger on there.
Yeah.
Just to make sure everything's staying in line. So because you can't see where the zip is, but you can feel it.
Right, okay.
So working by feel now. And we're just going to very nice and slowly just sew along, just one straight line. And then if you need to stop and just flatten everything out, you can.
Oh my goodness.
Now, if you need to take that pin out, now
Is
what
that
will happen,
sort of
yeah, quite
puckering
often the
bit
lining
there?
fabric will get pushed along, even with a walking foot. And let me move those pins out of the way for you. And you're doing exactly the right thing there, where you're just realigning everything. But you've almost got to sort of not think it's a zip. It's just another layer that you're sewing in.
Okay. I can see now the benefit of leaving things a little bit bigger,
Yes.
I think.
Yes, you don't have to stop and fiddle with moving a zip head out the way.
Yeah. Well, when I was at school, they taught us to put a zip in, and you had the zip head in the way.
Yes.
And it was an invisible zip, and that put me right off.
Yeah, no, this is a much simpler.
Right, so.
So you've almost put a zip in. I've stitched mine as well.
I know.
So we're just going to check how we've done. So I just tend
Right.
to just sort of peel that one back and give it a bit of a finger press. We're going to take it to the iron in a minute.
Right.
And then just sort of flip that back. And if you have a look, and just like I say, just sort of finger press it at this point, and just check that you're happy with sort of how that's gone in. That's looking pretty good to me.
Happy? I'm ecstatic.
I can see your face. With happiness and a bit of astonishment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, I'm going to take mine to the iron and press.
Okay.
Wait for that iron. And we're just sort of pressing away from the zip. Oh, that's getting caught up. Am I in the right place there? And then I'm just going to press a little bit here as well. Now we will top stitch in a minute, but we'll put the other part of the zip on first. So if you want to come and press yours. Did a dozy-do there.
So you're saying it's okay that it won't melt, because obviously I'm just a bit concerned.
Yeah, no, it won't melt.
Right, okay.
I always do it on the hottest. I think unless you held the iron there for a long time, but the nylon could withstand that.
Well, that's me, my sewing, or, oh no, I've just pressed a crease in, that's clever. Right, marvellous. Thank you.
So
right,
you've got half a
shuffle
zip,
by you
yeah,
again.
dozy-do. So now we're just going to do exactly the same with the top section.
Okay.
So if we sort of put it back where it belongs.
Yeah.
Now, you might find it easier to do that now rather than that, but it's the same principle. These two need to go right sides together. And with yours, you just need to make sure you line up your edge, because I've given you a precise. I'll share my pins.
Thanks. This is the bit I'm worried about.
Yeah, don't be. It's no difficult. You've done this. It's no difficult than the other side.
Right, okay.
All right. Now, I've actually put a third pin in there, only because my zip was sort of bowing a bit away from the centre.
Okay.
All right, so
Yeah.
once you've got that, flip it over.
It should look like that.
I want a little bit off. Look, I'm just going to line that back up. I'm actually going to pin from all that. Look at that wonky pin. I'm still going to use it.
Yeah,
I'm still going to love
I
it.
think we need to do a spring clean look.
And then our lining goes right sides. So we've still got right sides of lining facing right sides of outside, but it's just we've got this in the way now.
Right.
And just with yours as well, just make sure you line it up at the sides. I think I think this might be to size.
Yeah, I think next time, you know, I'm going to take your tip
Make it slightly
and
bigger.
make it
You should
slightly
be all right.
bigger.
At the end of the day, it's a bag, so if you're a little bit off, you can always just trim a bit off.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
And then I pin it from this side or the other side.
This side, I would,
Okay.
because it's probably easier to sew it from this side. Can I change that response? It's whatever side you're going to sew it from. Put your pins.
This side.
Oh, I can't pick up that pin. That's what happens when all your fingers don't work properly.
Ouch. Yeah, I think this lining is fractionally.
It won't matter.
Short.
It won't matter. Don't forget you've got seam allowance.
Okay.
I think I might be short. And also the machine will sort of shove it a little bit along, so. All right. And then once we've got that pinned.
Hang on, I think I need to move that a bit more. Hang on.
Yeah, that's it.
That's better.
All right.
Yep. Yep, I'm there.
Now we're going to do exactly the same. Take it
Right.
to the sewing machine.
And do the same.
And do the same again. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I always sort of start by just sort of finger pressing the lining back.
Okay.
And you can sort of tell by that point whether it's gone in quite nicely. And
Yeah,
then
I'm pleased with that for a first attempt.
And then flip it over and then press your top.
Okay.
Look at you, you've just put a zip in.
I know, how good is that?
So we'll take it to the iron and press, and then we're
Okay.
just going to do a little top stitch.
Right.
And what that top stitch does is just makes it look professional, but
Right.
also it will just make sure that your lining stays flat
Yeah.
and doesn't hooch up as you're opening and closing and get caught in your zip. Because
Okay.
that would be a bit of a pain. So if I just press.
I'm so excited. I've put in a zip.
Well, it's always, when you have a bit of a fear of zips, it's a bit of a Mount Everest, isn't it, moment?
Well, everyone's going to be getting bags for Christmas now.
Well, and
with
I
a
keep putting
zip.
that the right way.
I've just
Yes,
shimmied
and see how
past
quick
you.
and easy they are. Yeah, really useful.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you make
this is
them different
mine.
size. This is mine.
No one's having this because it's pink and it's got all this lovely stuff.
is
on.
mine.
This is mine.
All right.
Right. Okay.
Now we're just going to do a top stitch,
Yeah.
about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge there.
Still with our zipper foot on,
Still
or are
with
we
the
going to
zipper
change?
foot on. You could
Right.
change, but I keep the zipper foot on because
You can get it
it'll
nice and close.
It'll ride over the zipper a bit better.
Okay.
So, and it's already on the machine.
So on both sides.
on both
top
sides,
and bottom.
top and bottom.
Right. Okay.
All right. So do you want to line
Yeah.
yourself up for that? Right. I'm just going to say, when I top stitch, I tend to increase my stitch length to about a 3.0. So shall I just
Wonderful.
twiddle that?
Yeah.
That'll do.
And what I'm going to say is, so I've still got the zipper foot on.
Yeah.
So where do I have the edge of the foot? Right at the edge of the zip, or
You can put it wherever is a good eye line for you to
Right.
get your top stitch. So you might want to use the edge of the foot on the edge of the fabric. I
Right.
would think that the edge of the zip is probably going to be a bit too far away unless you move
Right.
your needle all the way over here.
I
So I
see.
would probably use the edge of that onto the edge of the fabric.
okay,
All right.
okay, let's go. It's a little bit
Don't worry.
wobbly, but hey,
Just
For a first attempt.
embrace the wobbliness.
indeed. For a first attempt, I'm really pleased. Look at that! I'm so excited. Look, it works. I've got a zip.
You've got a zip. I
I'm
will
just
just
so
say, if
excited.
you've
Right.
used a zip on a roll without a stopper on, just be careful when you
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You can whiz your zip end
I
off.
wouldn't want to have to do it all again. Now I've got this far.
You can thread them back on, but sometimes it's a bit of a fiddle. So sometimes what I'll do is get one of the little wonder clips and put on the end of the zip,
yeah,
so you
good
can't
idea.
you
Yeah.
can't whiz it off,
Yeah,
because that could be a bit of a nightmare.
I'm just so excited.
So there we are. We've got a zip in.
Fantastic.
All
What
right.
do I do now?
We just got to finish the bag.
Right,
So
okay.
nice and easy. First thing we're going to do is move the zip head
Right.
in, because we're going to trim off
Yeah.
any of the excess here. Now I've bought my old, this is a pair of scissors I keep for trimming zips. They're
Right.
blunt, they don't really cut anything,
Okay.
but they will cut through a zip. So I'm just going to cut off through the zip there. And I'm going to be really daring. She says they don't cut anything. They don't really. Now I would normally rotary cut that bit, but that's not bad by eye, is it?
No.
And I'll just trim that bit off. Oh. These are ever so blunt, but they're good. Don't use your best scissors.
No.
Cutting zips.
No,
Just do not.
The only thing I'm going to point out here is I'm worried because I'm a little bit in there. What am I going to do about that?
You can do a little trim.
Yeah.
We can cut your zip, and then we can do a little rotary trim if we want to just tidy it up. Or if you think that's going to be caught in the seam allowance, you can just leave it. You have to find the bit in the scissors that cut. It's not sharp all the way through. Like I say, they're very blunt because they're used for cutting zips. So I've got a bit there where I'm just going to trim mine. Let's keep you tidy. So if you have a little look, now you might want to just put a couple of little stitches there to hold it together, but I tend to just sort of hold it as I'm sewing.
Okay.
Or put a clip there.
Yeah.
Or pin really well. It's whatever you're comfortable doing, really.
Okay, I think I'll put one of those little binding clips. We've got some somewhere, haven't we? She says.
Oh, well, I've got one.
I'll borrow yours for now.
There we are, just to help to hold that bit together.
So you just clip
Just
it
clip
there.
it. Yeah, just clip it together.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll just do a little quick stitch. Now, let's just look at the bit you're a bit concerned about.
Yes.
So we'll just put the ruler on it and see. Actually, let's turn the ruler around so I'm leaning across you. Now, that will get caught in your seam allowance, but you're a little bit close. So if you're not quite happy with that, what you can do is just trim that little bit off.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Being a lefty, I'll go the other way.
Yes, of course, sorry.
That's all right. I can do some things right-handed, but I can't rotary cut very well. Right, so I'm going to trim that off.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So now we don't have to worry about that.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Final assembly.
Okay.
So, outside.
Yeah.
Face down on top.
Yeah.
And then if you'd like to pass the pins across, and then we're going to pin that in place.
See, mine's a little bit
Now
big.
I would pin. Don't worry about it.
Mine's
We can trim in a minute once we've got it pinned.
Okay.
Pin away from your edges because we're going to leave these pins in.
Okay.
So just sort of do enough. I'll let you. I'll use these thinner ones. They're not. Oh, actually, they're quite good. I didn't think they were going to go through the multiple layers quite so well, but actually, they're very sharp. Okay. You might want to just move that one in a bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a bit near the edge.
Because we're going to flip it over and sew,
Oh,
but you can sew from this side.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
So we can leave those pins in and not have to worry about hitting them. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So we've got it looking like that. And then our lining, flip it over, goes right sides to the lining. So it's lining to lining, outside to outside.
Okay.
And I've got to just check I've got in the right direction. And you can either sew from that side or you can sew from that side. It really doesn't matter.
Right, so I've got a problem because, look, that is so much shorter
Than the outside.
Yeah, so...
Okay, well, do you want to stop and do a little bit of a trim? What have I done? Oh, you've got the rotary cutter.
So...
Just trim it back to the size of your...
See, that's not... I don't know what I've done here. That's not very straight, is it? So I think my lining is too big as well now. It's just...
Well, trim that one first because you can see where you need to trim it to.
Oh, right, okay.
So that's okay. So like I say, if you just need to do a little bit of a neaten, you absolutely can because, you know, this now is your template for everything else. You could put that clip all the way through that layers. It might help that sit a bit flatter.
I bet you've never had a student like me, have you?
Yes, because here you are.
Oh my giddy aunt, look, what have I done now? I've put that in and everything else has gone wonky.
Yeah, that happens.
Right, hold on.
That
Right,
happens.
right, I'm there.
All right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, it's not. Right, and I would just do a little trim on that as
there.
well.
I do like that you can do a slither trim.
Yeah, it's I call it a craft project. You know, it's a little bag. It's not like everything's got to fit together exactly like when we're putting together quilts.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay, just going to do a bit tidy up here as well. I'm going to have nothing left.
No, absolutely fine.
I'll have no bag left in a minute because I'm going to cut it all away.
Like postage down the side. It's all got, where's Katrina's bag?
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Let me just trim
Katrina's
this.
bag?
Yeah. It started out at 10 inches, it's now 4. Right, sorry.
You might want to do now the same with your lining.
I've forgotten where I was. Lining
That's
where?
okay. So lining to lining.
Oh yeah, lining to lining.
Because I'm going to need to trim my bottom bit.
Okay.
But we'll just focus on you for a minute.
So have I got a pin this
So pin
through?
that, yeah. See, the zip's looking quite easy now, isn't it?
Yes.
That was the bit you were scared of.
I just don't understand when I start out with the right measurements how it doesn't end
Oh,
up
it's
with
fabric,
the right
it moves. It moves. But this is why I love doing little bags like this.
I should stick to quilts, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It really
Right,
doesn't
now
matter.
I'm going to trim
You can
this
trim that,
bit
so
as well.
Any excess bits.
Okay.
You can sort of ignore it when you come to do your final seam if you sew it from that side, but if it's easier that it's not there distracting you,
Right.
just trim.
Okay.
All right?
I'm there, she says.
So now I'm going to do something a bit strange. We're going to take our, sorry, I'm just taking yours. That's because yours
That's
is all
fine.
pinned and mine
That's
isn't.
fine.
We're going to sew, we're just going to peel that lining back.
Yeah.
And we're just going to stitch the 2 outside pieces together,
Right.
1/4 inch all the way along the top.
Okay.
Because that's where I'm going to leave a gap for turning.
Yeah.
And if we've sewn that, it means we're not going to have a gap in the outside. All
Right,
So
okay.
just sort of hold your lining back out the way.
Yeah.
1/4 inch. So I think we need to
1/4
change the
inch.
foot on the sewing machine, don't we, for our 1/4 inch foot?
Okay, we'll do that.
All right, so we've closed our outside, so we
Yeah.
can leave a gap anywhere along
Oh, I
that
see.
top edge. And the reason I
Right.
do it in the top, if I show you in this one, is because that's going to be, the gap's going to end up under there. So it's going to be the
Right.
place that's the least visible when
Yeah.
you're using the bag.
Oh, that's a really good idea. So I can leave a gap here now
Yeah.
and just go all
And you just
the
want to
way
sew
around.
all the way around. Now, when you come to the zip, just go gently, but the needle should go through the zip fine, but just go
Right,
through it gently.
okay.
Don't sort of go too. And I tend to sort of just reverse back over it, just to add a bit of strength, because that will be the stress points as you're
Yeah.
opening and closing the zip.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Right, I'm going.
Okay, so just my final check is I just sort of go around and make sure that I'm happy, that I look like I've caught everything.
Well, it looks like
In-
it, but
in our
turning it
seams,
inside out will be the
That will be the moment of
test.
truth. So we're just going
Okay.
to clip our corners,
Yeah.
just so we haven't got quite so much bulk. We've got a pair of scissors each, look.
I know, I think yours are sharper than mine.
Oh, do you
just
wanna-
going to get rid of that bit.
Yeah, I've got a bit of excess lining here, which I'm just
Yeah.
going to trim back.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Well, sometimes the lining shifts a bit as we're going round, and sometimes I
Okay.
just sort of chamfer the
Shove
corners
that
off a
over
little
there.
bit. Do you do that? Oh no, I'm just chamfering a little bit. Where you just sort of take a little bit. Where,
Oh, right.
Because I've got a couple of layers of wadding here, and it just helps it.
See, this is a bit dangerous. I'm liable to cut through stitching.
Yes. Yeah, and then your bag is even more
Yeah.
smaller.
But even
'cause
smaller
Because you've
still.
had to go round again.
Right.
Let's stop being too fussy.
Okay,
Are we ready for the moment of truth?
we are.
So we're going to find our gap,
Right. Oh, yes. Yeah.
put our hand in. Now I start in a far, far away corner. and just push it out.
Oh, this is so exciting.
All right, and it should be
Okay.
inside out.
But all I've got is my lining so far, is that right?
Yeah, but it's
I
just
can't
inside
see.
out. It's
Right.
just inside
Oh,
out.
okay.
So if we open our zip,
Let's poke that. Yeah.
and then turn it through again.
Hang on, I've got to get that top bit up there yet, haven't I? Right, okay. Oh, I'm with you. I'm so excited.
This is where we're fiddling with bags now. It's not very entertaining, is it? That looks lovely.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I'm so excited.
Now you can use that gap obviously to get in and really poke out those corners.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't do it with your scissors and poke your scissors through. Get a little
No, I've got a little
bamboo,
gadgety tool.
yeah, little bamboo turner or something.
Oh, look at that!
And we could just, take that to the iron and give it a...
Yeah, I'll poke those corners out a little
get
bit
rid of
more
my- yeah,
afterwards. But
just-
look, I've done it! I've put in a zip! Thank you so much.
That's all right, you're very welcome. So now you've got a new little bag to use and I've got a new little bag.
I love it. Yours is a bit straighter than mine, but I still love it.
It doesn't matter. It's just a little bag. And by the time you poke out your corners and do a little press,
Wonderful.
that'll be beautiful. So how was your first zip?
Well, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but that's because you were here holding my hand.
Well, and also it's a flat zip insertion. So there's no awkward bits. It's just going in flat. So that always makes it a bit easier.
You know where this is going, don't you? You're going to have to teach me how to do one of those boxy bags with a tab zip at either end.
Okay.
Are you up for that?
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
I can do that.
I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial as much as I have. The good thing for me is it's going to be on YouTube, and so when I get stuck putting in a zip, I can just watch it back. So thank you for watching. Thank you to Jeanette.
You're very welcome.
And we look forward to seeing you next time here in the sewing studio.